IEM Dallas. The group stages. They've come, they've gone. We all came here for simple, and well, that didn't work out. So I guess now we're just gonna sit here and toast to Vitality winning 1,000 more games, because there is no joy left. There is only despair. So let's set the stage, cut through the primordial ooze, get you all of the teams who made it through the group stage, and set up for the playoffs starting tomorrow. But before we do, I would normally insert a call to action here as well as a sponsor segment. But today, I'm not going to be doing any of that because something much more important needs to be talked about. If you guys could take a second and listen to me before skipping ahead to the rest of the video, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks to you guys, I have been blessed with a small platform here. I'm going to use it to help out someone very near and dear to me. TJ is one of my closest friends. He has been someone who has helped me out at many different points throughout trying to establish myself here on YouTube as a creator. And now that I'm here and things are starting to succeed a little bit, I can turn around and help him in his time of need. Him and his family are currently going through a terrible time. His uncle and his grandfather are experiencing health complications. His uncle is battling cancer, and right now things are not looking great. Cancer is something that has touched many of us. It's a very serious issue, and we all know that the expenses that come with that can be a burden on any family, and right now TJ's family needs our help. If you guys would go over to the tweet linked top in the description, like and retweet it, and help get some eyes on this GoFundMe campaign, I would greatly appreciate it. Do not feel obligated to donate if you don't have the means to do so, but if you have the spare $1 or $5, it can really add up. Other than that, just getting more eyes on this post will help out TJ and his family in more ways than I can describe, and all of us should take a second and wish them well and keep them in our thoughts while they navigate this trying time. TJ, I love you, man. Thank you for reaching out to me, and I'm glad that I can do something to hopefully help. I even threw down $100 thanks to the money I'm making from this channel. Hopefully you guys will check it out. Like I said, top link in the description. And with that somber note, let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the video. Now, as opposed to my normal group stage formats, I'm going to try and cover this in a little bit quicker time. Mostly because I don't want to make another 45-minute epic every time there's a group stage, and also I just want to condense this format down a little bit. We're going to start off with the two teams who dominated Group A and Group B and exited in first place in both brackets. That is, of course, Vitality and MOUZ. Starting off with Vitality, they started off their event by 2-0ing Legacy, they then 2-0'd GamerLegion, and then the Mongolz, yesterday, pushed them to the very brink in a 3-game series where it looked like at the last moment the streak might be broken before Mongolz did the Mongols and threw. Circling back to that Legacy series, initially it looked like Vitality as usual as they cruised to a 13-5 victory on Inferno, but credit to Legacy, who did a game job of putting up a fight on Dust 2, where they pushed Vitality nearly into overtime before Vitality could finish off the match 13-11. Along the way, ZywOo was good, but not like ZywOo, like he wasn't transcendent, and overall the team seemed a little bit slow to start. It was really Apex on Dust 2 helped keep them at a high level to help them power through this matchup. Their following matchup against GamerLegion was a bit close as well. It was 13-9 on Mirage, 13-10 on Nuke. While these teams were definitely door knocking with potentially forcing a third map, when it came down to closing out games, that's where Vitality still showed their class as by far the best team in the world, even if they are off to a bit of a slow start. Once again, ZywOo just doesn't jump off the leaderboards really that hard. He goes 33 and 23 across both maps, but not many high impact plays. Just his usual consistent ability to get 1, sometimes 2 frags in any given round, which helps give Vitality such an overwhelming edge. Meanwhile, it was Mr. Robin Cool who led the way on both maps in terms of overall fragging. Which leaves us with their matchup yesterday against the Mongolz, which was by far one of the most entertaining group stage games we've had in quite a minute. Because initially, it was a 13-10 battle on Inferno, where Vitality once again looked decisive to close, but overall the more dominant team. Though, to Mongol's credit, in true group stage Mongolz fashion, they were also playing quite good. In fact, it was only 9-10 who really underperformed, and if he had been better on this map, we could have potentially seen an overtime. Maybe Mongolz managed to sneak out an 0-1 advantage before going on to Nuke. Ultimately, didn't go their way. On Nuke though, Mongolz would hand Vitality one of their worst one-map ass-kickings this team has received since their rise to dominance began. This was 13-7, and at no point did it feel like Vitality were really in this game in any serious way. First off, they got blitzed 7-0 on their T-side nuke. And if you don't know, their T-side nuke win rate is absurd. Over the last 6 months, they've had close to a 50% win rate on T-side of nuke. Like, it's just unreal. Also keep in mind that before this matchup, their only other 2 losses on Nuke were 1 to the Mongolz and 2 to Spirit. Little fun fact for you. This was the closest that we've seen Vitality look to disjointed and out of sync. Nothing felt very coordinated and their impact was sparse at best, underwhelming at worst. Meanwhile, Mazinho and 910 were having life games on the CT side. 910 specifically went 16-7 with a 2.0 rating. Really, it's as simple as Mongolz executing their normal game plan, which is to just overwhelm you with fragging from every single corner, and usually Vitality are more than game to swing blow for blow. They just didn't quite have that T-side punch here, and the deficit became too much to bear when they couldn't win the second half pistol, leading us to a climactic third match on Mirage, which honestly, the Mongolz should have won this. This should have been the end of the streak. There is no other way to put that, because they did everything they needed to do. They pushed Vitality to their breaking point, but then at the very last moment, could not finish the game off. They tied the game 11-11, had Vitality on a broken bye with an AWP, an AK, a Galil, and 2 Tech 9s. All they had to do was not fuck it up. Instead, the Mongolz choke came a stage early. They conceded a full A rush with Flamesy and Rops entering through A main, Flamesy getting a double pick with a fucking Tech 9, and they were forced into a save. And once they hit that, it was GG. There was no way Mongolz were going to send this to overtime. Their mental was shattered. Rops just walks out of Palace and just hits 2 insane 1-taps and buries the game. The streak is alive. Vitality goes straight to the semifinals. They're going to win this tournament. I see nothing to suggest otherwise. They are the most dominant team in the world. But maybe a team like MOUZ could stop them, because with their run through Group B, including a dominant win over Falcons yesterday, they are positioned on the opposite side of the playoff bracket in the semifinals position, and they've looked really good at this event. In their opening series, they blissed BC Games 2-0. It was 13-9 on Dust 2, 13-9 on Mirage. Spinks, Xerxin, Torji, looking great, feeling good, playing good. In their follow-up series, they had a chance to take on Team Liquid. This is now the second event with Liquid with Shuhi, as they did not play at Astana previously. More specifically on Team Liquid later on towards the end of this video when we talk about the teams who didn't make it. But in this series, MOUZ dominated. I mean, straight up dominated. It was not even particularly close. It was 13-8 on Inferno and then 13-2 on Train. Yeah, this was just MOUZ looking so good. Like, Torji was incredible. He goes on to be even better in the following Falcon series. Spinks was also awesome. And they did that with Xerxin just kind of having a ho-hum game. But Xerxin is usually, he's the linchpin of this team. So when he has a bad map on Inferno, that gets a little worrisome. But Torji more than carried his weight. On that map specifically, he went 25-10 with a 1.83 rating. Torji is having a pop-off this tournament. He's looking like one of the 3 best players here. And in their final series yesterday, as I already said, Torji just ended things with a statement game against Falcons, a team that previously MOUZ have been vexed by multiple times. Torji fucking owned the Falcons in this 2-0 set. It was 13-4 on Dust 2, with Torji leading the way, going 21-4 and utterly dominating the matchup versus m0NESY. Then on Mirage, Falcons actually woke up and gave a very competitive affair, managing to push the game into overtime after a dominant first half. But in that overtime, Falcons would once again crumble at the last moment as MOUZ roared back to life to sweep the overtime 16-12. Torji once again top fragging 25-14, Spinks went 26-16, Xerxin bottom frag going 17 for 17. So once again, a missing Xerxin did not matter as MOUZ steamrolled all the way into a semifinal spot. And even worse if you're a Falcons fan, this loss was worth so much more than just a semifinal spot. The loser would be placed into the same bracket as Vitality, meaning that Falcons now have to beat unbeaten Vitality in the semifinals if they would like to make yet another grand finals themselves, otherwise known as Falcons are getting eliminated in the semis. Anyways, let's go ahead and start talking about the 4 other teams who made it out alongside Vitality and MOUZ. First up, let's take a look at the Mongolz, as they pretty much have one of the other easiest runs out here. Mongolz started off their tournament effort taking out Furia in 2 games. Keep in mind this was the first day of the event back on Monday, where, you know, the day before on Sunday, Furia had just been competing in PGL Astana in Kazakhstan. And listen, you know, I'm an American, so geography is kind of hard for me. But Kazakhstan, kind of far away from Dallas. So Furia were on a miracle travel schedule just to be here at Dallas, showed up jet-lagged to shit, underslept, underprepared, and the Mongols battered them. It was 13-7 on both maps. It was not remotely close. That's gonna happen. Furia, it's just unlucky. In their second round matchup, they got a layup. They had to play G2, and as we all know, G2 rhymes with G through, and they got pushed out of the server. It was 13-4 on Inferno, 13-7 on Dust 2. Listen, G2, they're in limbo. I'm not gonna laugh at them too much. They're playing with a stand-in. They're playing with snacks. Those are debuffs that nobody can overcome. And then, as we talked about in the beginning in the Vitality section, they nearly beat Vitality, but nearly's not good enough. And, you know, listen, I hate to be this guy, but I'm going to be this guy. Nothing about this run has made me felt more inspired or more comfortable about the Mongols because, I don't know, man, they nearly beat Vitality in the group stage in a game that, other than deciding semi versus quarters, had no real stakes, right? It wasn't like an elimination game, it wasn't a playoff game in an arena, and they still managed to choke there. So, like, where are we at, man? I continue to be the biggest doubter of the Mongols or Aurora because they continue to give me doubt. It's just hard for me to get behind a team whose only run through the group stage was beating a jet-lagged Furia, a Make-A-Wish team, and then managing to choke against Thanos. But hey, that's alright because they have a deathmatch rematch in the quarterfinals with their fellow choke artist, Aurora, who also had a bit of an interesting run. On the first day, which once again they were also dealing with the same travel constraints that Furia were dealing with from Astana, lost to Heroic in 3 maps. A very close series. I thought Heroic played very well. More on them towards the end of this video. But in this series, the first map, Dust 2, is a 13-9 win for Aurora, where Woxic was the one who really stepped up. Zontaras had a very slow first map here, but both Woxic and Wakadia combined for 23 and 20 kills respectively, and that firepower advantage compared to the stars from Heroic really made the difference. Zontaras would bounce back in a strong way on Anubis and Mirage, though honestly it feels like their era of being an unbeatable team on Anubis has passed as they conceded several recent losses on it, including here where they went down 13-10, and it was due to their inability to hold on the CT side as they went down 1-11 in the first half before trying to gain back a comeback that fell short. Compounding that, Heroic kind of fell apart on Mirage, conceding the loss 13-6. Zontaras, like I said, was great, but he was pretty much the only player activated at this point as every other star impact player fell short for their team, meaning they had to drop down to the lower bracket. In their first lower bracket game, they took care of NRG 2-0. NRG, you're just not good enough to be a team like Aurora. Sorry. Got held to 4 rounds on both maps. That just is what it is. They followed that up by playing Liquid in one of their most impressive wins in quite a while, where they straight dominated Liquid. 13-7 on Inferno, 13-9 on Dust 2. Zontaras, Jota, and Wakadia all had a 1.2 or better rating, with Zontaras nearly having a 1.4. Now, it certainly helped that Ultimate had a dogshit terrible series, but hey, when you're Aurora and things have been so up and down, you'll take what you can get. And after Heroic killed all love, happiness, and joy left in my soul by defeating FaZe previously, Heroic played Aurora once again in a do-or-die elimination game yesterday. And honestly, it looked like Heroic had everything in their favor to clean up this series and advance into the playoffs. They dominated Aurora 13-3 on Train. They were shit-talking, yelling, being loud. They were doing everything to get under Aurora's skin, and it was showing. Everything went wrong for them as possible on this Train defense, and they just got ran over. No pun intended. However, Aurora bounced back in a big way with a dominant 13-8 win on Dust 2 that really managed to quiet the room and take the wind out of Heroic's sails. Woxic came alive, especially after a very piss-poor performance on Train, and combined that with a Zontaras and Jota 20 bomb each, they overwhelmed Heroic in typical Aurora fashion with pure raw firepower and just hitting you over and over and over again, that titular style that Major has defined for himself, where it's not nuance, it's just all brute force and he's either going to beat you or die trying. And all of that is despite Tanir being the best player in this server by a country mile in all 3 games. Tanir for Heroic went 57-39 over all 3 maps with a 1.38 rating. He was the only player to have a positive plus-minus, and compared to his co-star Sampayas, he was miles better. Sampayas struggled in all 3 games and failed to get above an even scoreline even one time, which is just unacceptable when you're absorbing as much of the resources as an Opera does. And I say that as someone who's been a very big proponent of Sampayas. He's been legitimately great through this year, but you know, you're not always going to have the best tournament. and he turned up not playing his best Counter-Strike at a time Heroic could have really benefited from that. This was a field that Heroic could have easily made a playoff run here and really established themselves after all their difficulties just trying to get invites as a team who's so much lower in the VRS standings, and honestly, I think they blew it. And yes, that is a little bit of an implicit bias because they beat FaZe. Alright, listen, I gotta have my biases too, I'm not immune. Anyways, Aurora made it, they've looked good, they've looked a little sketchy at points. I don't know, just like the Mongolz, betting on them is like watching me play Premier and hoping I don't choke. It's just you're flipping a coin. Alright, the next team making the playoffs were in fact GamerLegion with Acor as a stand-in. That's a hell of a thing. I do have to say this, and yeah, maybe this is petty, but I'm gonna be petty. GamerLegion got very lucky here because they beat 3D Max in the opener. That's a good series. They beat 3D Max in 3 games straight up. All right, that's a good win with Slend or with Acor. That's a damn good win. I'm not gonna take away from them. They got punted by Vitality. That's expected. In the lower brackets, they had Furia, still jet lagged, and also a team that's been together for 3 weeks. And then they had G2 some fucking how in the lower bracket finals, and they almost got beat by that G2. And this video would have been one of the most nuclear G2 rants of all time if GamerLegion had lost to them. Thankfully, GamerLegion did the right thing by society and defeated them, but every series GamerLegion won here was in 3 maps. And they're playing Falcons in the quarterfinals. Like, the only reason I'm not going more in depth on their performances is because this is a team in flux that's missing the major with a stand-in, and then they're playing Falcons, the second best team in the quarters. GamerLegion are going to get destroyed. Maybe they take a map because Falcons are hilarious like that, but let's be honest. Even if they, like, somehow, like, a meteor strikes the Falcons vans in transit, and by proxy of that, GamerLegion have to play the semifinals against Vitality, there's no fucking way they're beating Vitality. So their tournament is basically over. They made a playoffs though. That's pretty cool. Great. Dope. Love that for you guys. Anyways, let's talk about Falcons. Falcons were certainly up and down here. They started off by dusting off NRG. No shockers there. Heroic managed to take a map off them, but honestly, I just don't think that's unsurprising. I think Heroic are a much better team than most people would see on the surface. And honestly, this could have been over in 2 maps if Falcons didn't somehow choke in overtime on Nuke. Hey, that's going to happen. They then beat them 13-3 on Dust 2 in the final map, so all is forgiven. m0NESY's been playing great because he's m0NESY. Nico on Nuke has been concerningly bad for a while now. And I'm really concerned about Nico's overall play because we haven't seen anything close to like a G2 Nico from 2024 carry performance since m0NESY's entered back into Falcons. And they need Nico to still be 90% of what Nico's been forever now. Nico can't suddenly just be pedestrian if Falcons want to beat Vitality at any point this year. And so far, he's been pedestrian. In that game against MOUZ in the upper bracket finals, he was plainly bad. He had a .076 rating over both maps, and that can't happen. Nico needs to step it up. Like, yes, Magisk is terrible, Tess is inconsistent. Those pieces aside, they are not the stars. Nico is supposed to be the second star. He's supposed to still be a top 5 player in the world. And at least for right now, he has not been playing like it. And if he continues to not play like it, Falcons are screwed. Alright, let's spare some thoughts for some of the teams who didn't make it. Firstly, with Team Liquid, I think there was a lot good, a lot bad. I don't think they had the easiest bracket to deal with, which definitely contributed to why they lost. Losing to MOUZ is not unreasonable on the surface, but they kind of got bricked out. They kind of got bodied. Ultimate did not put in good performances in either game against MOUZ or Aurora, which is not good. Ultimate continues to be an up and down player in his own right, and frankly, if Shuhei is coming in long term, they need to seek out a replacement for Ultimate. While he's certainly got the high-end skill, his variance is just too high, and this is a team that is not looking to develop over time. They're looking to win now before their superstars age out of their primes. They need to capitalize on the fact that Twist, Nerd, Snaf is a great core of riflers. They need a consistent opera behind that. They need to sign Shuhei, they need to get a coach, and then we can really start cooking with Liquid. I still think they're good. I still think they have a chance to make a playoff run at the major. They just didn't do it here. Now let's talk about FaZe. FaZe had Simple. They had no real time to prep with him, and then at the last minute, Rain had to drop out because his kid was being born. Fair enough, so they played with Skulls. So it's kind of hard to assess what FaZe will be like with Simple without seeing them play with Rain as well. On the face of it, let's just focus on Simple. Simple was not good in their elimination game against Heroic. That is just plainly true. I will not deny that. However, I think Simple had moments where he looked closer to old Simple. Not quite peak powers, but maybe like 85% of that. And if Simple can be close to 85% of his prime, he can be a valuable and useful piece to damn near any team. He farmed against BC Game, especially on Anubis, where he had a 19-2 first half on the CT side. And yes, BC Game are terrible, but just looking at the mechanics, he was hitting high quality shots, his aim and mechanics looked actually much sharper than last we saw him with Falcons, and most of all, he looks more dedicated and invested in playing CS2 now than he did back at the Major, at least that's just my opinion, and I always give the deference to Kerrigan to be able to cook up something in the long run. I think the longer this team boot camps, the deadlier they will get, and with Simple, Elysian, Frozen, that is enough firepower to legitimately threaten any team in the world. Will they suddenly beat Vitality? Probably not. But I think FaZe are going to be fine. This was just a little bit too soon, and without Rain, they were not quite working on a system that they had been developing prior. Anyways, we'll see. I'm still believing in the FaZe miracle. FaZe saving strats for the Majors. FaZe at Majors, different beast. You know how it is. We're going to go ahead and call it there for this group stage recap and get ready for those playoffs tomorrow. Bear with me on the scheduling of recaps over the rest of this weekend. These games are going to be, kind of in the afternoon for me locally. They're going to be coming out later in the day than I would normally produce content otherwise. Time zones, as always, are the enemy of all things, and I will try my best to work around it. If you guys like this kind of content, you can show me by leaving a like, leaving a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Help me hit 10K by the end of the year and helps out immensely the YouTube algorithm. Thank you to my channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Milan Berta, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, Patatas Kaftesi, PTR, BO, and Games, Cody Foxworthy, Justin Vandervate, I'm Flashbang, Snowy White, Rowdy, Vergil'sPlasticChair, SidPro12. If you want to become a channel member, you can use the links down below for about to keep the video just like this, as well as custom world community Discord. Follow me on JesseTiv, JesseLionHeartZ, CS2, and most of all, top lane in the description. Please go and support TJ in his time of need. It would help me out immensely, and he would appreciate it as well. Thank you guys so much. Be safe, be well. I'll see you soon.